Hi, I'm Chris with the Craft Beer Connoisseurs, and before the episode begins, I just wanted to provide you with a little information on who we are and how you can stay updated on all of our content. This podcast was created to showcase craft breweries and indulge in interesting conversation. We want to help promote a variety of breweries, and along the way have conversations ranging from sports to beer, and beer to, well, just about anything. Please feel free to follow us on Instagram at Craft Beer Cons, send a friend request on Untapped, or subscribe on YouTube at Craft Beer Connoisseurs. Also, drop a comment, like, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Now, stay tuned for today's episode. Welcome to Craft Beer Connoisseurs. I'm Chris.
I'm Brett.
And I'm Tyler, and along with us today is producer Willie.
Willie the groundskeeper.
He's here.
So in today's episode, we'll be reviewing Natterjack Brewing Company out of Eagle, Ontario.
Nice. We're going to be reviewing two beers today. The first is called Lunker, which is a cream ale, and the second is called Toad Evaporation, which is listed as a golden ale on Untapped. We're going to talk more about this in beer segment number 2.
Definitely looks like we will. And to finish up the episode, we're going to talk about how we exercise and work out.
All right, so we're talking about Natterjack Brewing, and it is located along the shorelines of Lake Erie, specifically 25292 Talbot Line in Eagle, Ontario, which is about 5 minutes from West Lorne and kind of like halfway in between London and Chatham, about 45 minutes from each.
Yes, so founded in 2016 and the doors being officially opened on September 22nd, 2018, Natterjack is dedicated to the memory of Matthew Soos, who unexpectedly passed away in August of 2015.
Right.
Matt was known as the beer man, or a man of unique ideas, and was well known within the community, devoting the majority of his time to hops, malts, yeast, and fermentation, along with other unique flavors. His passion for beer could be seen a mile wide, and his dream was to one day open a brewery of his own.
Right. So I think just kind of going back a little bit, when we're talking about the location, you might just be better off to Google it.
Yeah, definitely Google it, put it in your GPS if you're headed that way.
Yeah, it's a little bit between point A and point B, and Google might be better. So just a little bit of information on Matt. So Matt just completed the Niagara College Brewmaster and Brewer Operations Management program and was very excited to dive into the craft beer world and get started on his journey. Now, today his passion still lives on through his family, as Peter, Kathy, Dan, Rachel, Elise, and Danica have devoted themselves to honoring Matt's passion of finding the simple things and making them unique. So a whole kind of family operation. There's a whole slew of them. So they might not
It's a team effort for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's really nice to see that they're continuing on, his dream, right? And making it come to fruition. So That's awesome to see that. And as part of that, the Soos family has also established the Matsu Memorial Fund. And so basically what that is every year they award a scholarship to the student who brews the best beer at Niagara College's Brewmaster competition. So a little extra incentive for that competition.
Absolutely. And a competition that I think we should judge sometime.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
I don't know about you guys, but I think we should do that.
See if we can get in on that.
Yeah.
Yes, so Natterjack's beer itself is built upon being, again, the unique flavored craft beer. A few of their staple beers include the Natterjack Toad, which is a Belgian strong ale with pistachios and cardamom. Does anybody know what cardamom is?
No.
It's a spice.
Thank you.
Is it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Good.
All
Spice Man Chris over there.
There you go.
Spicy.
A smoked lager with peated malt and Soos juice, which is an American strong ale with chocolate malt.
Right. So although you might not be able to find exactly where the location is until you Google it, when you come up on the building, you're probably going to know that you're at the right space because it's a 4,480 square foot building. Again, it's that shed style buildings. We've seen this before. Similar to kind of like Stone Picker, right?
Yeah. I thought you were going to say that you might know that you're there because there's nothing else.
Well,
so it's just like...
That's true, too. You might be just driving by.
Yeah. Hey, I know what's there. A brewery.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And I will gladly sit on that patio to have a few beers there, for sure.
Exactly.
Speaking of, maybe we should touch on whether any of us have been there, because personally, I have not been there.
No. I've not been there, but I have had some of the beers, and we'll probably touch on
Well, again, as you said, it's tough to find it on Google, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I'm there. But
It is only 45 minutes from us, though.
we
so-
promise we will make it out sometime.
Yes,
100%
absolutely we
sure.
will.
In terms of actual beers we have had a few beers from them. Most of them were back in the day, when beer festivals were a thing.
What's a beer festival?
I don't know. Last 2019, they had some. So, myself, producer Willie, and Tyler, we attended a beer festival back in 2019 where they had the Easy Breezy Blueberry Squeezy. Man, that was a mouthful.
Sounds good.
Yeah, you know what?
it was
Middle of the road. It was all
And
right.
then producer Willie and myself on different days, but we both did attend the Food and Wine Show in London back in January 2020. And there, they had a nice little booth set up there, and we tried the Natterjack Toad and the British Pale Ale that had a little bit of pomegranate as well. And they're both decent beers as well.
Do enjoy a little pomegranate. So when I was talking about the size of the building, you might think, well, wait a second, if it's that big, how much beer do they brew? Sorry. So each batch is about 760 liters. But not only do they do the beer thing, right? This is 2021, and every brewery has to kind of get into the seltzer market, right?
Oh, you got to.
So
It's just easier, right? It's cheaper to make and push out quicker.
yeah, so they've also got into the seltzer market, much like many other breweries, and they offer a couple different ones. So a Blue Freeze and a root beer one. So
That's interesting.
Yeah, those are some different flavors on the seltzer market. For sure.
Yeah.
So hopefully we get to taste those sometime in the near future.
Maybe we will.
We
Maybe
may.
we won't.
We might.
No.
Well, if you do find it on the GPS, and if you do make it out there, they're open Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 12 to 5. So basically just weekends only.
Yeah.
Which means
Absolutely.
we will have to take a tour on a weekend.
We
That
will
would be
have to.
correct. Yes. In terms of delivery, if you are within the area, it's free local delivery. But if you're not from the area, all the more reason to venture on down there. It's 5 minutes from Lake Erie. Have some beers on the patio there, or maybe inside when Stage 3 comes along, and then tour down Lake Erie, go on some water, go on a boat,
Yeah.
do things.
My question is, and maybe
Yes.
we should have done a little bit more research or asked a question we can follow up with them. What is local to them?
Right, what is local?
Because if it's free local delivery, it might be the 6 people that live just nearby.
Right. Even if you're like 15-kilometer radius,
Is that local?
you're not really hitting a lot. I would imagine it's just West Lorne.
I do believe it
Probably.
is within the municipality of West Elgin.
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
Okay.
Yes. I don't know what that consists of. I just know it's within the whole municipality.
So
Producer Willie is on it.
food for thought, and we might have that when we get to when we're drinking beer one to follow up. But just kind of food for thought to kind of see what free local delivery.
But
looks like.
it's a good point for sure.
Yeah.
And maybe they mentioned on their social media. We're not sure, but we're going to link all of their information to our social media for sure.
Absolutely. And just like a toad would do, we're going to hop along to our very first beer.
All right, we're back with beer number 1. And first, we want to thank Dan for supplying the beers on today's episode.
Thank you, Dan.
Yes.
Thank you, Dan, including the very personal doorstep delivery from Dan. So that was awesome. Showed up
Must
at my
live
house.
within the free local area for delivery, don't you?
Not quite. He just made a special trip in.
Another
Good for Dan.
Dan delivery man.
Yeah,
Is
exactly.
this what we're working with?
So the first beer that we're having is a traditional cream ale called Lunker, which does contain nuts, which is actually kind of interesting. And it's got an ABV of 4.0% and 20 IBUs.
All right. So don't be fooled by the can. Now this isn't my writing. Okay, this is given from the brewery, so don't critique me too much. But don't be fooled by the can. The bright blue, relaxing in the lake feel. Like catching a lunker is easy. Kid you not. That big fish takes hard work, a lot of patience, and just the right ingredients. Lunker is a perfect pairing for those hot days, or if you are just weathering the storm. Or relaxing, or realistically, you are probably just sharing fishtails of the big lunker you reeled in. So it is a warm day out today.
It definitely is.
So I'm hoping this lunker, I can sunker.
Yeah, quench that thirst.
Yes.
That was okay. Anyway, this beer is smooth, creamy, light, and as Tyler pointed out earlier, just the right ingredients that you can't resist.
Nice. So on Untapped, you can follow us at Craft Beer Connoisseurs because we are on Untapped. And the overall rating for Lunker is 3.55 bottle caps out of 5 with a total of 180 check-ins.
So not a whole lot,
No.
No, not a ton.
but a decent amount probably for a smaller brewery. All right, let's grab our glasses, grab our cans. Let's open her up.
Whoa!
A little bit of splash.
A little bit of splash.
A little bit of splash
little bit
as
of
well.
explosion there.
Yeah, maybe that's just the Lunker. Now try and get the beer in the glass.
Oh.
Okay.
Chris is just having a time over there.
First time poured a beer.
I remember my first beer. Good Lord.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know what I'm doing here, but I do know I'm drinking this out of a pint glass.
Wow.
Do you know that you're doing that right now? Do you?
If I can get any in the glass.
Holy heck.
So make sure to use your proper glassware and make sure to pour properly.
Yeah.
It was tough for Chris to reel his beer in, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, if you could.
God.
I think I'm going to have to ask you to pay for a new Scotch guarding on the furniture.
I swear I haven't had any beers
So
before this one today.
between you and producer Willie, when you guys poured, I noticed that you had canned glass.
Yes.
And as you poured, because the can is full to the top, which
It
is probably
is very full, yeah.
remove some of that air so then that way you keep the preservation of the beer.
Yeah.
Is it just literally poured out of the can, ran down the can,
Yeah.
and into your lap, my table, and my couch. So
I don't know if you know this, Tyler, but you see us two over here?
yeah,
Pretty dry over here.
yeah,
Hell yeah, we did it.
great job.
Wow.
So let's take a look at this beer, not on the couch, but in the glass, and see what we see. A nice golden kind of, I don't know, like a darker honey kind of color, if you will.
Yes.
Yep.
Kind of dark honey color, for sure. On the nose, it does...
What are you getting there?
You know what? I don't really know what I'm getting. Maybe
Yeah,
I'm getting a little bit of that honey too, actually.
A little bit, and I can't really put anything specifically necessarily, but I would say generally it smells like what I would expect a cream ale to smell like.
Right. And you know what? It's not as creamy, and producer Willie also then commented as well, and he took notice of this because I was too busy laughing at your pour. On my pour, which was actually more accurate, and Brett's, the head retention, it went down quick.
Almost nothing, yeah.
So it's there, and then it fizzes right out. So just kind of keep note of that. But for a cream ale, I don't know if I expect it to be more hazier. Or,
Yeah, I think maybe it depends on what recipe they're brewing with, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
I'm smelling the nuts now, though.
yeah, I actually am getting
Right,
nuts now
yeah.
too, as well. And maybe this, as you said, this
Yeah, a
beer
little
goes in the glass quick. I wonder if it'll go down the hatch quick once we get to taste it here.
Yeah. So should we kind of taste it?
That was
here?
my hint, hitch, nudge, nudge to
Yeah.
start tasting the beer.
Yeah. Okay.
All right,
Let's
Let's
try
go.
it.
Let's do
Let's
it.
try it out.
definitely malt forward,
Yeah.
I would say.
I'm getting a nuttier feel, kind of in the midway.
Same. Yeah, and I don't know what type of nut necessarily, but almost like pistachio.
Well, remember they had one of their other beers was brewed with pistachios, so they obviously
right.
have them, randomly there,
Yeah.
just sitting around.
Just toss it in, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll throw that in. Why not?
I don't know. I'm getting more of a peanutty, but that might just be me.
I was getting, when you mentioned you could smell the nuts, I was kind of smelling peanut.
Peanut on the nose.
Yeah.
And are you guys getting a bit of a different mouthfeel? Like, I don't. It's not. Obviously, there's no lactose in it, but maybe it's that kind of creaminess portion of it.
It is certainly creamy, which you would expect from a
Right.
cream ale.
Yep.
But yes, definitely I am getting it. Not as much as you would expect if you had lactose in it, but yeah, it is.
And I know, for example, I'm the only person probably here who is A, nuts, and B, doesn't like nuts. So,
Like you're no nuts at all.
no, I hate nuts. Like, peanut butter is the most disgusting thing to me,
Oh, wow.
Wow.
right?
Wow.
Cashews, beer nuts, no.
Beer
None of
nuts
that.
either.
None of that. I like beer, don't like nuts, which is why I just
Just the
drink
beer.
Yeah,
Okay.
just the beer part.
I enjoy a good beer.
So
nut.
that's why it's being thrown off a little bit for me, because I'm not used to this taste. I'm not used to that nut
Yeah.
taste.
You know what, that makes sense because we did get in for Christmas. We did get a package as well that came with a bunch of peanuts, and now I do recall you saying no thanks to the peanuts, and you were willing to give those up.
Yes,
So
always.
it all comes back around. So producer Willie says maybe some cashew.
Yeah,
Sure.
maybe. Because cashews are kind of like buttery almost, like
Yeah.
kind of creamy buttery. So that makes sense
might be
why you're getting the creaminess too. Yeah.
All right.
Good
so,
call by Willie.
Yeah, Willie on his game today. Not the poor game,
First time
Yeah,
everything.
not the poor game.
but the guy knows his nuts.
I'm one to talk.
Yeah. All right, let's get to the top 5 profiles. I don't think number 5 is going to fool anybody or surprise anybody on this one. But number 1, creamy. How do we feel on that?
It's
consensus?
definitely creamy. Wouldn't be my top
Yeah.
one, but definitely there.
Yeah. Okay. Number 2, sweet.
I would say it's a little sweet on the back end.
A little bit of sweetness, but I would say there was more sweetness on the nose. Like I was expecting more sweetness when I
Right.
smelt it. But
Yeah, and kind of having a cheat code to know what all the top five flavor profiles are. I'm going to kind of mention what you said earlier on, Brett, with malty. Maybe it's not on the top 5, and we can see
Right.
that. But I think you're right, and maybe that malty should be kind of rammed up into number 2 and sweet drop down. 3 is smooth.
Definitely a smooth beer.
Yeah.
Hot day, like 30-degree day. This is definitely an easy crushable beer, 100%.
absolutely.
It is smooth. 4, subtle.
I mean, I get it, right? Like, no flavor in this beer is necessarily jumping out and being the predominant flavor. So I get that point.
Right. Okay. And then number 5, nutty.
Yeah, that's there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is nutty. So we'll see.
Yep. In terms of the can, very colorful can, actually. Very, very colorful
It
can.
is.
It's almost like a toad in the water, and trying to get some of these fish that is holding on to the beers here. It's just, it's very, it's a colorful can. It's a very
you know what? It's
attractive design there.
It's very kind of playful, right? Because you have presumably the Natterjack trying to catch the Lunker,
Yeah.
and the Lunker conversely trying to catch the
The-
Natterjack.
Again, also not up on my fish terms. Is Lunker a fish term?
Yes.
Like a fishing term?
Yep.
There you go.
Yeah.
Or the Lunker is trying to catch the Natterjack's beers.
No. See how it's on its own fishing pole there, and it's got the hooks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's trying to catch the Lunker by persuading him and saying, "Hey, you want these beers because it's a hot day."
Oh,
The story plays out. The story plays out.
Sure. We're going to go to things that I know way more about, and that is Untapped, because I know nothing about fishing, nuts, or anything else in between. Tyler, please hit me up with the first one.
All right, you got it. So the first one is Mike. Handle, I'm going to say it's Frank. P-H-
Soft pH.
Yeah.
P-H-R-O-N-K is the handle. On May 2021, I don't think we actually have a specific date in there, but in May, so not on May, but in May,
in May.
said the following. Nothing mind-blowing about it, but it's a perfect summer ale, and plus there's a frog on the can. Very literal, Mike. Thank you for that. And gave it a 4 out of 5.
Well, Mike is right. There is a frog on the can. And from the next one is from Aaron L. Handle is Serious Beer Fan. Commented on February 27th. Great beer. Tastes like summer. Hashtag miss you Matt. Hashtag Matt Stream. Hashtag West Elgin. So awesome that he's kind of paying tribute to Matt. And Aaron gave it a 3.5 out of 5.
I do have one comment going back to Tyler's one that he read. Frank, Mike, I don't know if you know the difference between a frog and a toad, but
Calling out.
I do know there is a difference between them. So
Yeah.
maybe you need to take a closer look, or maybe he had a few beers that day.
He obviously isn't familiar with other Natterjack beers, which are basically called Toad Evaporation,
Right.
which we're going to have next. So,
And
et cetera.
this is all coming kind of clear right now. Is because Brett said, he doesn't know much about fishing, doesn't know much about nuts, but being Farmer Fife, he probably see a lot of toads and or frogs
Right.
in the field.
Yes.
So,
There was actually one at my house last week.
all right, I'm going to give this a rating. I'm going to start it off. I'm going to go with a 3.25 to start things off. A 3.25.
Nice. I am going to give it a 3.5.
I am going to give it a 3.25. And producer Willie, who also did have it at the Food and Wine Show back in the day, he rated it a 3 then when it was off the tap. This one in the can is also rating it a 3.
Perfect. So that is going to give us an overall team score of 3.25.
Nice.
Keeping it clean.
All right. Well, let's continue our way on to beer number 2. Now, the second beer we're having today is Toad Evaporation, which has a 6.0 ABV and 15 IBUs.
Yes, so this beer is brewed with the finest maple products here in southwestern Ontario. Their friends over at Aldred Maple Products helped out fill their tanks with saps, then finish with Aldred's very own maple syrup.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Maple syrup. I do enjoy some maple syrup.
Yes,
Me
you
too.
do.
So this is designed as a traditional lager with that maple making it kind of like a smooth finish on the end. So we'll see how that kind of goes. Now, one important thing to note here, which was talked about at the beginning, was it is kind of mislabeled on Untapped. So it's listed as a golden ale.
Yes. It is.
Now, we haven't poured it yet, but we have seen some pictures, and it does not look truly golden.
No.
Their definition of gold is very, very off.
And I will say, when I mentioned Dan dropped the beers off at my house, he did specifically say this is a maple lager. So
Okay.
we do have that inside information. From
he
the
would
brewery.
know.
He would know.
He made it.
He did brew it.
Yeah, you're right. He would know that.
You should have that information. So it's not really a golden ale. We'll see when we pour what it does look like, although we have seen the pictures and we do have information about that. So
Yeah, we've got a little bit of a hint here. So, as a side note on this beer, the first time that they made this beer, they actually tapped their own trees for sap to fill their tanks. So
Wow.
they realized that that can take a little bit of a long time. So they opted to go for professionals going forward. So that's
Probably there.
Yeah, that's where Aldred Maple Products came in. So on Untapped, this beer only has 19 check-ins. So
yeah.
definitely not a lot, with an average rating of 3.55 bottle caps out of 5. Again, 3.55.
We're part of an exclusive group here.
We are.
Is what we're saying,
The
essentially.
3.55 category or the 19?
The 19.
Okay.
But we'll see. We might fit that 355 when our ratings come up. All right, let's grab the cans here. And Chris, if you could please be careful this time around, that'd be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, I will be very careful.
Let's open her up.
This beer also says that it may contain nuts. Just if you have a nut allergy out there.
Does it actually?
Yeah, it does.
No spillage over here.
Oh, me too.
Did a bit of a quick pour so that way it wouldn't run down the can. And it seems like the same people, producer Willie and Chris, struggling on the pours.
Hey, I got it all in the glass. I just have
I think
half the
it's,
glass ahead.
I think Tyler and I's smart serve is definitely coming in handy here versus the other.
Do we dare high five again? I think we do.
Wow.
Great job.
Ha
Well, I did
Learn how to pour, gentlemen.
I did manage to pour the entire beer into my whole pint glass,
Baby steps.
which we are using again.
The whole pint glass into a 355 can.
And
20-ounce pint glass in a 355 can. And it's taking up the entire glass.
I think what we need to
Not
do
wrong.
is a producer special on how to pour your beer, making sure that we have the right angle for the glass as well as the can.
I was a little bit nervous after the last beer. I didn't want to get more on
Chris
your
knows
house,
about the
so-
proper glassware, just does not know how to put the beer in his proper glassware.
It's true.
There you go.
The struggle is real. All right, taking a look at this golden ale.
It is not that.
Not a golden ale.
Nope. Swing and a miss.
Definitely more of that maple lager. A brown ale would have been a little bit closer.
On the look.
dark
at least,
ale.
Yeah, for sure.
A winter ale.
Winter ale would have
Dark
been a little bit
lager.
better.
Anything dark that isn't golden.
Yeah.
Really.
I would have even taken stout.
Yeah.
It
At
would
this
be
point,
closer
anything.
than golden ale.
in color, but definitely not in flavor profile.
On the nose, so you definitely do have that maple come through.
Yeah, some maple and some malt as well,
Again,
which
yeah.
I would expect.
The maltiness for sure.
I'm sure that contributes to some of the darkness as well, not just the maple.
I think so.
I think very very malty. The head retention, although Chris did have that extremely impressive pour, his head
has
gone
subsided.
Down. Yeah, so
To a
But ours is
drinkable
all
level.
like flat now. His is still there because, half his glass was head for a minute and a half.
it looks very much like a root beer, right? Like
It
just
does,
kinda get that-
actually.
kinda
Oh, do
get
they
that
screw us up with that root beer seltzer?
Yeah.
yeah. Mislabeled the can. Actually, the Untapped is right, but the can has been
That's what it is.
No.
man.
So I think that's kind of a good look, or kind of any kind of like Coke product or Pepsi product, right?
Or RC Cola.
Cola
RC
product.
Cola,
yeah.
Cola product. Yeah.
All right, well, let's be hoping this isn't pop, boys.
All right, let's taste her up.
Actually, I've never had a maple pop before. Be interesting. Yeah, the maple's there.
The malt is there.
Yeah, it's really malty, actually.
Yeah.
I don't mind it though.
I think with this is you have to know what you're getting. And if you're going into it thinking you're getting a golden ale and you're not,
You're
going to be severely disappointed.
yeah, and I think we see some of that in maybe some of the Untapped comments as well. But it is very malt forward. That sweetness or that maple, is there.
On my next few sips, I'm getting a lot of the maple syrup. Like literally, like I'm just drinking maple syrup.
You just have like Aunt Jemima in the bottles there.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Just chugging it.
Yeah. I think something to be said with this kind of beer is, again, we do talk about when's the best time to have this. We're on a hot day, maybe not necessarily a summer beer. And I could see this more as like that fall, winter kind of beer.
Yeah,
just because it's darker and that maple syrup kind of keep it to that fall season, right?
Yeah, I would say like a bookend season, right? Like a spring, fall, where kind of like it's not too hot, but it's not cold, where you're kind of looking more
I think
to a
we
stout.
definitely did this right in terms of having the Lunker first and then this one afterwards.
I agree.
If we would have flip-flopped it, I think things would have been a little bit different.
It would have affected the Lunker.
And if we didn't have the inside information that this actually isn't a golden ale, then we might have made that mistake.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah.
And because we always talk, and we had that in a producer special before with flights, about trying to drink the light to the dark. And so if we would have thought it was the golden ale and didn't do the complete research on it, yeah, we might have switched them up.
Thank God for research.
Whew.
Oh man.
And I mean, the guy who brewed the beer telling you it's a maple
Yeah,
lager.
that helps.
That helps.
That helps a
That
lot.
helps, but so does the internet and Untapped. So speaking of Untapped, top 5 flavor profiles for this one. Number 1 is sweet, which I can't argue with.
Yeah.
So number 1 on my books.
It might be number 2.
Okay.
And I'd only replace that with malty.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Fair.
1A, 1B there.
Which malty isn't on the top 5 so far, but we have a
We'll put it
chance
there.
to shape this, I think, since there's only 19 check-ins.
Yeah, that's true.
Number 2 is light, which
I definitely don't think this is a light
I
beer.
don't-
It doesn't drink light.
light doesn't make sense to me at
And
all.
kind of speaking towards that like seasonal kind of drinking of this beer, I think, because it is not light,
Mhm.
it would fit more into that fall season. But yeah,
Yeah, and then stale is the third one, which
This is one I've never seen on
Yeah,
Untappd
I
before,
haven't
like a
seen this
stale.
That's
Does anybody want a stale beer?
no.
that's a good point though. Like I'm glad that you mentioned that because I have not seen that flavor profile. Willie hasn't. Chris, have you ever seen stale?
I have not seen it.
And I mean, maybe that's because a lot of the check-ins have been us like Untapped at home.
Well, I'm certainly not. I would say I haven't really had a beer that's stale that I can remember where I'm kind of looking for that.
Well, and that's what I'm
flavor
saying though,
profile?
is because
Yeah.
it's you've been doing a lot of Untapped at home. Is if the beer's stale, you have yourself to blame.
Right, right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's where most of my check-ins come from, like in terms of Untapped at home, right?
absolutely.
COVID really helped that.
Exactly.
So flavor profiles number 4 and 5 not listed.
Yeah.
So like I mentioned, we kind of have a chance to shape this. I think we kind of talked about it. Malty, absolutely, we need to put that in there.
The one that's not on there that probably should be, and me and producer Willie I think are in agreement on this. Maple, because it's a maple lager,
Yep.
and there's definitely that maple flavor coming through.
So
I would agree.
So maybe we do shape this a little bit, and I propose we go with malty, sweet, maple, dark.
Yeah.
That's 4.
Yeah, and then we come up with something else because I don't think
We'll do some brainstorming.
We agree, right? Like light isn't in there, stale isn't. 2 of the 3 that are in there don't actually exist, right?
Oh, for sure.
So
Light
yeah,
and stale are
right.
not relevant at all.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, why don't we just move on and see what the actual Untapped users think instead of going through that? And
Instead of what we think, we should probably.
well, we'll get to what we think in a
That's
second.
true.
So yeah, the first one comes from Scott J. Scotty Can is the handle, and on June 18th, Scotty said, "Good color, just the slightest hint of sweetness from the maple syrup finish in the process. Low ABV." So he must like his heavy beers because this is 6%. I wouldn't call it low. And he says clean and easy. So Scott gave it a 3.5 out of 5, and he was able to enjoy it on the Natterjack patio.
Indeed.
I wonder if they thought maybe they meant to say low IBU.
Maybe.
Yes.
Right.
Maybe he needs to educate himself in between ABV and IBU.
Maybe.
I'm sure there'll be a producer special on that, and he can listen to it so he can be educated. In terms of the second review, it comes from Chris B, and his username is brownie_64. And he said this on June 29th. He said, "Not sure this is golden, but still delicious." Well, you know what? I definitely agree with that.
He would be right.
Because it's not golden, but it is definitely delicious.
What did Chris rate that?
He did not rate it.
Way to
So
go,
maybe
Chris.
he needs to go back to our producer special on how to rate it on Tapped so that he can figure out how to rate his beer.
Brett's out here just ripping apart every Untapped user today.
And plug in the producer specials, too.
People got to give him a listen.
You gotta. It's good episodes.
Well, speaking of ratings, because we do want to rate our beers, I'll start our first one. So I'm going to give it a 3.0 out of 5. It's a decent beer, and I'm giving it that rating because it does have the maple that they talk about.
In terms of my rating, it is a lager. It's got some maple into it. So there's, again, nothing that's going to bring it up very high. But again, it's as advertised. I'm going to give it a 3.5.
All right. And so for myself, I'm going to give it a 3. And so producer Will is going to come in with a 2.75.
All right, so overall for our team, that gives us a 3.0625, which we are going to round down to 3.0.
Looks like it. Looks like that's what we're going to do. And that concludes our review of the beers and, of course, of Natterjack Brewing.
Nice. So stay with us as we talk about exercising and working out.
All right, so since the Natterjack logo, the toad in it, is absolutely jacked, just
Jacked.
like us.
Yeah.
Just like us, right?
Yeah.
All jacked up on Mountain Dew.
Yeah, pretty good, pretty strong.
Oh, yeah. No one can see us, so, we're going to talk about exercise and working out and getting jacked.
Yeah.
So why don't we start with kind of what our current habits of working out are? I'll throw it to you guys first.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'll take the...
What are you throwing, like a 20-pound weight to us? Or
Easy.
Yeah.
So, like, currently I work out roughly like 4 or 5 times a week.
only your freaking hands when you're playing MLB The Show.
About an hour and a half, usually. Generally, it's just generally what I've been putting
Complete
out.
a player program, then you're done, yeah.
No, if you look at our logo, you're going to be looking and seeing me in the middle and thinking, man, this guy's absolutely ripped, which is true. I think I'm a genetic mutation. I don't know what it is per se, but
You're certainly unique in that regard.
no, I haven't worked out in a while, and it is disappointing. And I really wish that I probably could, but majority of my problems is myself. Like I just can't motivate myself.
Motivation,
It's all
yeah.
motivation,
As
right?
well as the workout facility in the apartment has been shut down because of COVID. And
Right.
so they do have a little workout facility. They have a pool. I'd like to get in there and do something. But again, I can't find the motivation to do it. And that's simply on me. So Brett, over to you.
Yes, me. Let's just say my on-again, off-again fitness journey, as it seems everybody has. It was one of those things where before COVID, I was doing really good. COVID hit. Not so good. Now I'm back to doing good. So I always make sure take my dog out for like a half-hour walk late at night. No matter if I'm 1 beer deep, 0 beers deep, or 10 beers deep. Still doing it. But also, again, like starting up.
That good old 10 beer deep walk.
Right?
It's better than 3 a.m. beer picking up my kid.
Sometimes they call that a hazy walk because of all the hazy IPAs I've had. Anyway, yes, 3 a.m. beers. Children.
Yeah.
It happens. If you're a parent out there, you understand me. Anyway,
Chris, what do you got?
Yeah. So currently, I try to work out about 4 to 5 times a week. Honestly, I do. So I've kind of been lucky in the sense that even though, and we're going to kind of touch on this, but even though gyms have been closed and everything, I do have a space in my home where we can still work out. And I've literally at home all the time. I work from home, so I can just, at lunch, spend an hour working out and that sort of thing. So
now, do you have like a home gym or like
Whoa.
bands or anything like that?
Before we get there,
we will get there.
Oh. I do want to mention about producer Willie and what he's got going
Oh,
on.
yeah, he does
so,
things.
So producer Willie does, walks, some stationary bike. also just tuned up, and I don't know if he's part of the El Chapo mafia with his Narco bike, but I think he means Norco.
Does mean Norco.
I think he means Norco. So
Yes.
no El Chapo bike for him, but he's got a Norco bike. So just tune that
Man,
up.
seeing producer Willie on an El Chapo bike, though, that would be hilarious.
Now baseball is starting up, so hopefully Willie can get out there.
Producer Willie and myself will be going out to play the baseball again.
Throw some ched, and you know what? I had a bike here at the apartment.
Yeah.
Wanted to get tuned up, wanted to kind of work with it, but the tires are completely dickered.
Yeah. So to answer your question, Brett, basically, we've got a few like small weights, like nothing crazy. Like we don't have a full weight rack or anything. I've got resistance bands, which are actually pretty helpful.
There, yeah.
And then we have a Peloton bike.
Nice.
Add me craft beer underscore Chris. If you have a Peloton.
I love how your Peloton is with craft beer. That's awesome.
Like all three of our listeners that have Pelotons.
If that.
Craft beer and Pelotons.
So we've got like a nice little area that we can work out in. Yeah.
Nice. I only have a treadmill, and then fun story about that. Actually, I'll tell that offline. But and a lot of resistance bands as well.
If we had a Patreon account, that would be something that would hit that.
Right. Yeah.
I thought it was Patron.
Yeah.
Dang.
No, that's the
alcohol.
tequila connoisseurs.
Oh yeah, no, not having that. Anybody have any favorite like workouts, exercises, anything they'd like to do?
So for equipment, just to kind of go back on it for myself,
Yeah.
I personally don't have a lot. I do have some resistance bands as well. We do have some smaller weights in the apartment, some yoga mats, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But again, I just don't have the motivation to do anything. And it's sad. But here's the thing. This is the reality of it, right? Is that everybody has different, motivation levels. And I used to work out a lot. I did CrossFit, and I gained a bunch of weight. Shout out to Hydro CrossFit in Stratford. But I did do some workouts, and I did gain some weight. I was healthy, and I'd like to, not only for physical but mental health, work out again and start getting back into it. I think that's very important for that.
Yeah, in terms of like favorite workouts, I do really like I mentioned, the Peloton. They have great, really fun classes, great instructors. So you kind of feel like you're having fun when you're exercising, and you kind of get motivated because you're like, you can check out the playlist beforehand. You're like, oh, this playlist looks awesome, and that sort of thing. So it helps you get motivated a little bit.
So do you do any of the live ones, or do you do all the recording? Because I've looked at the Peloton, and again, it's just something that I would have to commit to, pay the money, and really just like focus in on it.
I mean, I do live classes if the schedule works out.
You mean they don't schedule around your schedule?
No, unfortunately not.
Dang
I
it.
hate to see it.
But they do, there's really no difference between the live and on-demand classes. It's the same thing, except you might get a shout out if you're in the live class.
Yeah.
Basically.
Right.
Gotta be all about those shoutouts.
Yeah.
Like, hey, thanks for joining us your first time. Wow.
Hey,
Yeah,
craft beer
exactly.
Chris. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Or if you're doing your 100th ride or whatever
Gotcha.
it may be.
Milestones.
Nice.
For sure.
Uh,
So you did say about favorite workouts. So do you have anything that's your kind of favorite?
I mean,
Obviously,
10 beer deep walk with the dog.
no, it's more so like lifting things up and putting them down. I'm like a weights person. I'm not like everybody hates cardio. Let's be freaking serious, right?
No.
I do.
Okay.
So I'd rather like my gym. Literally, my
You
gym.
literally just talked about having a Peloton.
Just because you have a Peloton doesn't mean you still hate doing it.
For that price point,
For that price point, actually, you better like it.
yeah.
You could be forcing yourself to do it.
But no,
Right.
like in terms before COVID, like I would go to the gym and literally just lift weights for like an hour and a half and then 15 minutes cardio at the end because I hate cardio that much. Right? The most cardio I got usually is like, when I hit a home run, I jog around the bases. That's all. Speaking about sports, though.
Well, Chris,
there you go.
Chris, do you have a favorite workout then?
Well, the Peloton
Just the Peloton?
classes, yeah.
Yeah. For myself, I don't know. I enjoy cardio stuff. I do enjoy, the bike kind of aspect of it. I also, flexibility stuff, whether it's, like handstand push-ups, just some obscure stuff, muscle ups, just things that I'm fortunate enough to do because I am smaller.
Right.
And so it's a little bit easier.
Yes, myself being the biggest out of the four of us, I should say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not as flexible in terms of what you can do versus what I can do.
Right.
You're right.
But I mean, we all have different abilities, right? And
Exactly.
when you look at our logo again, all three of us look like we're absolutely ripped.
Oh, yeah.
To shreds.
It is very flattering.
And producer Willie, if he was in the photo, he'd be like, "Ugh," like just
He'd be like the Hulk.
yeah, right.
All right, so your sports. Willie does a bunch of sports. Willie does hockey,
does.
tennis, fastball. Those are his bunch of
Yes,
sports.
I also play fastball. Now, Alfred note, this year, towards the end of last year, plus this year, I decided instead of, golfing beforehand was just like a fun sport where I could just go out and have a couple beers and ride a cart. With the exception of 2 times of the 10 times I've been out this year, I have walked every single course.
Nice.
I actually feel also I play better when I walk.
I totally agree with that.
And also volleyball during the wintertime. I play a lot of volleyball, ref volleyball as well, to keep my free gym membership at the YMCA. So
It's always an incentive program.
There's always
you
a
get
reason.
paid. You get paid to ref, plus you get a free membership, which then will turn into free swim lessons, which then will turn into free day camps. It pays for itself.
Are you still trying to take swimming lessons at your age?
Yes, I am.
Good for you.
Yeah. If you need anybody to teach you a doggy paddle, hit me up.
Well, in terms of sports, for me, I agree, Brett. Walking a course with a golf bag, that's not easy, right? So that's quite a bit of exercise. I do curl, believe it or not, sweeping. Pretty good workout.
For sure.
If you're actually taking it seriously, because some people don't.
Yep.
So that's where I am. Maybe just to finish it off, you mentioned motivation, Tyler.
Mm-hmm.
Do we feel generally like working out and exercising is like a chore that we have to do, or do we actually enjoy it? Because personally, I would say I do enjoy doing it.
Yeah, so for myself, I enjoy doing it. It's just getting me to do it.
Right. You
And-
enjoy like how you feel after. Probably,
Yeah,
right?
and that's the problem I think with myself is I've generally been a smaller guy, so it's not like I've had like this. Oh well, I need to lose 15 pounds thing,
Right.
or whatever.
You never
And-
been there before?
No, and this is the thing, right? It's just changing the way you think about working out, and it
sure.
shouldn't necessarily be all about weight loss. It should be about doing something that's healthy, keeping the body moving, and thinking long-term goals, right?
Yeah.
And so I think I just have to shift the focus on that and do a better job, right? And
Yeah.
and that's just self-awareness and accountability. And
Yep.
and I think it's easier when this isn't part of this conversation we're really having, but maybe I'll tie it in. It's a lot easier to hold yourself accountable when you have a group of people, and I can get behind
That's true.
I can get behind the Peloton idea because I feel like I would actually go on when you're on,
Right.
right, and actually feel like I'm actually working out with people. And, and that to me
and
is
that's kind of what sucks about not having the gyms open, right? Because like that was a big thing for people is going with other people to the gym, and you feel
Right.
like you're in a community or whatever.
And I would only go to a gym that I knew that my friends were going to also sign up with. I'm not a huge fan of going to a gym and then having a bunch of randoms and making friends.
Right.
No, thank you. I would rather go to the gym with some of the friends that I have.
Yep.
But that's,
See,
that's me.
that's the one thing for me. I'm completely different from you guys.
Yeah.
Because I'd rather go with my beats, literally just isolate myself for an hour and a half,
Yeah,
and
get
do
in the
my own
zone.
thing, talk to frickin' nobody, except maybe some casual conversation waiting at the water fountain for a
Yep.
drink.
Yep.
Other than that, I am literally all me. I don't want to talk to anybody, think about, being with anybody, etc. Just literally focus on my routine and get the heck home.
Right. Yeah, and that's the beautiful thing about how everybody does things differently.
Yeah.
Because I kind of do the same thing, but I'm just there with somebody. You know what I mean? Like it's like,
Yeah.
hey, can you help me out with this? Or hey, what am I doing wrong? Because you might think you're doing a movement correctly, and somebody that's with you will be able to kind of help you out and say,
Yeah.
wait, you're kind of getting loose on the back, or your knees are flaring out.
Yeah, and maybe before we just wrap it up here, we'll just touch on Willie. So he definitely would rather exercise through sports or doing, kind of stuff around the house than actually doing, specific workouts. Just kind of moving the body, right? Be healthy rather than thinking of a specific exercise.
Perfect.
You got her, right? Nothing better than throwing 6 games on a weekend for baseball and then being sore for the next 3 days.
Yeah.
But speaking of going home, because that's what we're going to do, right? Wrap up's next.
All right, and that's going to be it for today's episode.
Thank you again for listening. Keep on listening every other Thursday as Craft Beer Connoisseurs releases a new episode, and on our off Thursdays for a producer special.
Make sure to tell your friends, family, and your favorite personal trainer because, hey, they like beer too.
So from all of us and producer Will, I'm Tyler.
I'm Brett.
And I'm Chris, and together, we're the Craft Beer Connoisseurs.